Good morning, you guys. Day number 97 of my stay-batical to 50. My 100-day journey is coming to an end on Thursday. Changing my body, my mind, whatever else happens. Hello, hello. Happy new week to you. Hope you guys are starting off your new week with a bang so far. Kind of hard to mess it up this early in the week, I think, right? Monday morning, you might be like, blah, don't feel like it. Although this time of year does change people's moods a little bit. People tend to be a little bit happier, at least publicly, around this time of the year. So it's kind of fun to see that when you're out and about. People tend to be in a generally positive mood, so that's fun. But hello, come on in, guys. We are at the 97-day mark of this stay-batical. So 4 more days of the journey. I will be coming out on Friday to do kind of a recap and what I learned and all that stuff. And then I'm going away for 3 weeks. So if you haven't gotten the message, I won't be here after Friday for 3 weeks after that. I am currently finishing up my book with Brittany, my next book. It's rolling along, by the way. We were just on the phone just this morning talking about some of the different aspects of the book. And that's pretty much been most of my waking hours over the past week and a half, really intensely. But we've been writing on it for months. But it is coming to an end soon in terms of like the ending process. We're hoping to have it finished and edited by the end of the month. So it will be ready to go off to the printer and hopefully come out sometime January or February. That is the best case scenario of how all that will unfold. And we look forward to it. If you haven't heard me tell the title of it, One Step Deeper Journal, The Foundations. And it's a series that we're going to try to make like Chicken Soup for the Soul, except we'll have One Step Deeper Journal for anxiety, One Step Deeper Journal for trauma, One Step Deeper, you get what I'm saying. So we look forward to making it into a series. And yeah, it's coming along really great. So can't wait to share that with you guys. But as always, I have a topic that I want to talk about here today that I think is so very important. If you're trying to work on yourself and you're trying to be a better human, you're trying to calm all the swirl that happens in your head from time to time, pay attention to today's topic. And the topic is avoid thinking worst case scenario. Now think about in your life, when things happen or when things potentially happen, things are unfolding in your life, where does your mind go? If you're being honest, you know that your brain almost always jumps to the worst thing that can happen. It does it. It does it like, I don't know why our brains want to default to worst case scenario. Why doesn't it default to best case scenario? Why do we like to see the negative in things? Is the negative your default? Not blaming you if it is, not saying it's a bad thing if it is, but are you aware of that? Do you find yourself, when you're in any given situation, always defaulting to that worst case scenario? Most people that I have talked to in my life do this, including Jimmy. So don't think Jimmy doesn't do this too. You always kind of go to that, what's the very worst thing? And then that's the truth about it. And it's sad. It's sad that we allow ourselves to be mentally drained by the what if in the worst possible sense. Because when you what if yourself and you allow yourself to go down that, well, if I take this action, then this calamity will hit. Maybe. But have you ever tried to reframe it and go, well, if this happens, this amazing thing could happen? It takes a strong person mentally to make that switch. And I have often said in these walk and talks that while the worst case scenario probably won't happen, so too the best case scenario probably won't happen. And so if you find yourself struggling between those two extremes, just know that the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. It's probably not going to be the worst case scenario, and it's probably not going to be the best case scenario. Most of the time, it's going to be in the middle. So why let your brain go to that worst? And this is something I've had to work on myself on. Even to this day, I still always jump to the worst case. And it's just something, I mean, you can't help how your brain goes. You can help how you react to that, but you can't help that your brain thinks those things. So think about scenarios in your life that have come up. And when events happen to you, how do you handle them? How does your brain respond? Does it jump to, oh my gosh, it's got to be, and then fill in the blank with the worst case scenario? And then I want to know, if your brain jumps to that, how many times has it actually been that worst case scenario? This is also important because I think people are paralyzed into inaction when they think the worst case scenario is the result that will happen. This is where it gets you into trouble, is maybe you're meant to be doing things, connecting with people. Maybe you're meant for more, but because your brain has so convinced you that the worst case scenario will happen without a doubt, you are paralyzed into inaction. So I'm currently writing a book with my friend Brittany, who I see is on here. And it's the first book that I'll be writing that's about mindset and personal development. I've only done health books up until now. And so if I go full on worst case scenario, I could say, you know what? Nobody cares what I have to say about mindset and changing your beliefs and bettering yourself. Why would I even think that anybody would care about that? And I could very easily go to the worst case scenario and say, my mom will buy it, Brittany's family will buy it, but that's it. Because that's the way worst case scenario goes. It's gloom and doom. It's not looking at the bright side of things. It's not thinking that things could be better than that worst case. Now, in that same scenario, best case scenario comes out and it's a huge hit. And everybody and their mama wants to get their hands on it. And it gets the attention of a publisher or some big radio person. And we get interviewed and blah, blah, blah. That's the best case scenario. What's actually going to happen is somewhere between those two extremes. My friend Brittany's reminding me, mindset is a health book. Yes, but not explicitly physical health. But you're right. Mindset is health. That's true. And so, worst case scenario can get you into trouble, right? Good morning, girls. So, what I'm sharing with you guys here today is you could easily go to both directions, opposite ends of the same spectrum, and assume either one is true. Good morning. And I'm trying to tell you that 99.9999999% of the time, it's hardly ever going to be that worst case scenario. I suppose it is healthy to know what the worst thing that could possibly happen will be, along with the best. If you know both the worst and the best things that could happen, then at least you have the possibilities that are there and everything in between. I'm a big Texas Hold'em fan. I don't think I've ever shared that publicly, but I love playing Texas Hold'em. And when I'm holding my cards and I'm looking at the board, I always go, okay, what's the best possible hand based on the cards on the board. You always do that. Why do you do that? Because if you have a hand that you think is the winning hand, what are the odds that someone would have that best possible scenario? Not very high, but it's a possibility. And so if it's even a possibility, that will guide you as to how you bet and how you play the hand. And a lot of people take advantage of that, seeing what the best possible scenario is, and they watch how other people bet, and if they're timid in betting, then some people will bluff as if they have that greatest hand. And if you show strength and someone has not the best possible hand, it could make them fold, which is what makes poker fun. I'm good at bluffing. Let's just put it that way. I like to bluff. So now if you play me in Texas Hold'em, you're going to think I'm bluffing when I bet big. So. I've told all my secrets already. All right. So day 97, you guys, if you just joined in, of my stay sabbatical to 54 more days. And we will wrap up this 100-day journey. Don't miss Friday. I will do a walk that day and talk to you guys about what happened and what I learned and some surprises about how it all went down. I think you're going to enjoy Friday. Plus, it's the last time I will be on camera in 2021. I will be going away, pretty much detaching from social media until January 1st. So this is it, you guys, this week. So come follow me over on Instagram if you're watching this on the replay at Living Low Carb Man. And yeah, let's have fun. But I want to hear what you guys have to say about this topic. Do you avoid thinking worst case scenario? And if you don't, if you hear that worst case scenario in your mind, do you believe it? Do you respond in kind as if, okay, that's what's gonna happen? I'm amazed by how many people write me and they're paralyzed by what they think is going to be true. Look, you don't know what's going to happen until events unfold. But the beauty of life is you kind of have to let things unfold and see where things go. It's very easy to assume things just based solely on what you think and believe to be true. So if you have the knowledge right now, as I've been articulating, that the worst case scenario very rarely happens. Very rarely. Yes, it can happen statistically. But will it? From a logical standpoint, not likely. Same goes for best case. Let's say you write a book and you're like, I want it to sell 100,000 copies. All right, you cray. Because it's very not likely to do that. I've written 9 books and I've had 2 sell that many books. Still great. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying if your expectation of a book you're writing is to sell that many, you're going to be in for a rude awakening. All right, let's go back to the top, see what you guys have to say. Thanks for being here, you guys. Good Monday morning. Hello, Linda. Bulletproof says, go Jimmy, home stretch. Yes. What is that? I can't see what the first one is. Is that a dog? Dog, pencil, and book. So I'm not sure what the dog is. Or I'm always horrible with your emojis, Bulletproof. But the pencil and the book, I got that one. Thank you. Always on point, my brother. Jacob says, up and at 'em, Jimmy. Yes. All day, every day, as they say. I often think of the worst so that I'm always prepared. but I'm well aware how unrealistic the worst thing happening is. Well, that's what I'm trying to communicate here today, Bulletproof, is yes, be aware of worst case and be aware of best case. And just know that the reality for the vast majority of the time is going to be between those two. If we only think about worst case scenario, then your mind wanders to the negative side of things. And if you only go to the best case scenario, your mind only thinks that things are going to work out great. Either way, you're disappointed. You're disappointed ahead of time when you think worst case scenario. You're disappointed afterwards when you think only best case scenario. So the prudent thing to do is be aware of both extremes and then think, you know what? It's going to fall somewhere in between those two. Almost invariably. How could it not? And so if you have that comfort of knowing what the worst is, but not believing it, knowing what the best is, hoping for it, but probably not expecting it, then you're going to be able to handle most of life's decisions pretty well. And trust me, I still struggle with this. I have moments with various things happening in my life where I jump right to that worst. It's just human nature, I suppose. So don't beat yourself up if you think of that worst case scenario. Where you get into trouble is when you dwell on it and you make it 100% truth for you. It's not going to be true. Most of the time it will not be true. Some people believe their worst case thinking. They freak out about just the thought of it. So I know my what if thinking is not realistic. And so, hang on, there's a bunch of traffic here. Busy for a Monday. But some people, they buy into it hook, line, and sinker of whatever it is that worst case scenario is. And those are the people that never get anywhere in their life. If you're one of those people frustrated, nothing ever good happens to me, I can't get ahead in life, I can't really ever show the world who I am and what I'm about. Could it be you allow yourself to go to worst case scenario? Could it be you can let go of that expectation that things are going to be doom and gloom? I think that could help a lot, you guys. And if you've learned nothing else from me in all these walk-in talks, you've got to rein in your own thoughts. And I realize thoughts can be very convincing. Your brain can convince you of so many things that simply aren't true. But just because your brain thinks it doesn't make it the 100% gospel truth. I would argue most of the things you think aren't true, good or bad. Things aren't usually as good as you think they are, nor are they as bad as you think they are. Now that's hard for people who think in black and white. There's a lot of people who are very absolutism in their thinking, and you know who you are. That was directed at one specific person, but if it applies to you, take it. But yes, you have to find that middle ground to keep yourself sane and to realize that things aren't as bad as you think they are. Very, very rarely. What day is it today, Jacob said? Day 97 of my Stay-Batical 250. So today, tomorrow, Wednesday, Thursday, and Thursday's day 100. So I'll come back on Friday morning and we will do a recap. I got some interesting comments to share with you guys Friday. I don't think you're going to be expecting what I'm going to share. So that's called a tease. Come back on Friday, you'll see what I'm talking about. It was Kira that said mindset is a health book. Yes. You're right, Kira. It is. But up until now, all of mine have been explicitly physical health books, not mindset health, mental health. But yeah, it is. I think everything we do in life has some kind of an impact on our health. we do neglect the mental health aspect of things. It's one reason I'm glad I'm talking more about mindset and beliefs and trauma, because I do think this is a missing piece in the health journey for so many people. When you only put the focus on your physical body and you neglect all the psychological and emotional things going on, you're not fully healing. I know that a lot of my continued physical struggles has a lot to do with these mindset things, which is why I'm so passionate about this, guys. It's why I've been talking more and more about it. It's why in 2022, I'm going to be ramping it up even more, talking about mindset stuff, which, by the way, I've been teasing that I'm going to make a new podcast out of these walk-in talks. So I came up with a name. So let's see what you think about the name. So the potential name, haven't set it in stone yet, but it came to me yesterday. The potential name for the podcast, Better Than Before with Jimmy Moore. So Better Than Before with Jimmy Moore. What do you think about that? You like that? Because we can all be better than we have been and continue to grow better than before. And then I could call it BTB with Jimmy. So it rhymes both ways. Better Than Before with Jimmy Moore, or BTB with Jimmy. Yes, I have one of those minds. It's always thinking of ideas. Occupational hazard is what I tell people. Bulletproof says we are all given different kinds of hands in life. What matters is how we play them. Yes. Taking my Texas Hold'em analogy to the next level. Good job, my brother. Kay Denard says the worst case scenario is no guarantee. No. I would say it's an unlikely. It's like being down by 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter with 2 minutes left in the game. What's the likelihood of that team down 4 touchdowns of winning that game? Probably less than 1%, maybe like 0.1%. Still possible, yes. But the probability and likelihood, nah. If you're down 4 touchdowns, you're not going to make that up. Not without some major things happening. So the same thing could be said about worst case scenario. Neither is the best case scenario, that's right. And here's the thing, the in-between scenario is not guaranteed either. So just smile and do it. Yeah. I have come to the point in my life where I just let life come to me. No expectations, no having to meet some mark, or I feel like I'm a failure. I've done that my whole life. I have felt like that I had to reach certain levels of doing things for so long in my life that I'm at the point where, okay, life is going to do what life is going to do. And it would be so easy for me to try to press the issue and make things happen according to what I want to have happen. But some of the best things that happen to you are the things you don't plan for, you don't have a goal for. You had no idea was going to happen to you, but then they happened to you and your life radically changed. You got to right where you needed to be, even if you didn't know you needed to be there. Seen it, guys. Seen it, lived it, and now kind of expect it. Expecting the unexpected. It's kind of a fun way to look at the world now, rather than trying to force the world to comply with your every whimsy and whim. Doesn't always work that way. And the things that we think of aren't nearly as interesting as the things that actually happen to us. Nope. When I started podcasting in 2006, I had no idea podcasting was going to become what it became. I was one of the first 1,000 podcasters in the whole world when I first started. And now there's like 1.6 or 7 million podcasts out there. I didn't know it was going to explode in growth like that. But I did it anyway. I didn't think, oh my gosh, nobody will listen. That would have been worst case scenario. And I didn't think, wow, this is going to make me lots of money. No, I didn't do that either. That would have been best case scenario. But what did happen was in the middle. And on the positive side, the more best case scenario side of the middle. And it was the best thing that could have happened. Don't regret it one bit. Our utmost in the present case scenario, says Kay Dinar. Yes. Yes. Some people at the worst case scenario trap them into never doing anything. That's what I'm talking about. People get paralyzed. They just are paralyzed into inaction because they think the worst case scenario is how it's going to go down. I almost always have to talk people off the ledge when I'm consulting them with business. And I ask them, why aren't you doing X? Well, this, and this. I'm like, what do you think the likelihood is of this, and this happening? Oh, it could happen. Okay, yes. But statistically, how big is the probability? And when they can't answer that question, I'm like, see, it's not as big as you think it is. I have tricked people into starting podcasts that way. I'm talking to a lady now that I met at the farmer's market, and she's trying to get her business online. And I said, what's holding you back? Well, it's a lot of work, and what if nobody comes? I'm like, yeah, nobody could come, but what about if they do come? Don't you want to be ready? Don't you want to take advantage of that business-wise? Yeah. Well, do you think it's going to happen if you just sit on the sidelines and do nothing? No. So she's created the website, and I did her one better. I said, you know what? When you get the website up, and I'm back in the new year, let's get you on the podcast to let you talk about your products and talk about your story. She's got an incredible story. I don't want to spoil it, but let's just say tragedy hit her family, and she started this company as a way to heal. So that's another teaser for next year, January. So I booked her yesterday for an Instagram Live, and then it will air on the podcast in February next year. So lots and lots to come, you guys. Kira says, in chess, jiu-jitsu, and in life, I always have to anticipate the opponent's moves and what I will counter with, but it doesn't translate well to people, relationships. Hard not to see everything as a battle. Yes. I feel you on that one, Kira. Which, by the way, you guys, Kira was so sweet for sending me a toboggan. And it's the most interesting toboggan I've ever seen in my life. I posted it on my Instagram stories yesterday. Go check it out when you get a chance. But it's this toboggan that's like hand sewn, and it's got little Viking horns coming out of it. And then it's got this big beard, this Norwegian beard. I had to like tie to like a little button on the inside of the toboggan, and it covers the face. And so it's meant to keep your ears warm, because I always talk about how my ears are cold, and they're cold, by the way, Kira. So, and then the beard covers the face to keep your face warm. I said, you do know I can't wear that out in public, right? It was very cute, and I will definitely wear it as a gag, but I can't wear that out here on this trail. I passed by an elementary school. Can you imagine if I'm walking down the road with this Viking hat and this big long dangly beard? They're gonna have the cops come arrest me. But it was very sweet of you to think of me. I do like the cold ears, though. It is a nice sensation. I still have yet to get into the cold tank after being out here in the cold. Today it's like 40, so it's not real cold, but I need to get in the cold tank after walking in like 30 degrees. Because I don't think the cold would be nearly as rough if my body temperature is already cooler from being out in it, so. Bulletproof says horse emoji. Horse, yes. Horse, because you're approaching the end of your race, 100 days. See, I knew it was something that I knew it wasn't a dog. Let's see. I like that name, says Linda. She likes that better than before. Better than before is generic enough, but also, wow, yeah, I want to be better than before. So we will see about using that. Nice to catch up with you, says E.C. Lundquist. Thanks for being here. Always good to come on here live. Catch you guys here on Instagram, and then later on post this all over the internet. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube all get this video. Just look up the hashtag StayBatical250 and you will find all the videos, as well as on my website, livinlavitalocarb.com/StayBatical. Halfway point, turning around. Our brains think the worst things, but we can talk back and respond rationally. That's a good idea. That when your mind starts to think of those negative things right to the worst case scenario, that doesn't mean you can't have a negotiation within within yourself of, okay, yes, that 0.0001% chance that worst case scenario thing can happen, it's out there. But the likelihood is it's something less severe than that. Almost invariably, right? I love that picture. Thank you, Linda. Thank you. Go check it out. It's pretty funny. The one with the Viking. I showed somebody yesterday, and they were like, "Oh my, you're not really going to wear that, are you?" I said, inappropriate places, yes. Kira got it for me. I'm going to wear it, damn it. So you guys have anything else you want to say about this topic? Do you let your mind go to the worst case scenario? I think we do. But the point is, as was just said by Bulletproof, you can think worst case scenario. You can have those thoughts pop in your mind. But that doesn't mean that that's the truth. I think a lot of what's happened the last 2 years in our world has been pitched to us as the worst case scenario. And how has that served us? How have we done being told worst case scenario? And therefore, you must do this action to prevent the worst case scenario. And I don't think people are buying it anymore. And now that we have the oh my God variant out there, yes, I changed the name of it. The oh my God variant. It's the worst case scenario. People are freaking out. And I don't think they need to. Because the likelihood of all these doom and gloom things that they're saying about it, the likelihood is it's no worse than anything we've already seen. And even the things that we have seen, most people do very well. So it's just funny how the reaction to all that's happened the last few years is as if we've had many more people get sick and many more people die. Yes, it's tragic the people that have lost their life, but let's don't act like it's been hundreds of millions of people worldwide. It has not. And yet people are responding as if it has been that way. I think a lot of people in various parts of the country are over it already. I live in a place here in South Carolina. Ain't nobody scared of this anymore. We're all ready to live our lives, and we are. We're living our lives. And if what happens, happens. No more worst case scenario for us. Some people will keep going for the rest of their lives thinking worst case scenario with this black plague. Those are the people that are going to be miserable because they're going to see how much of their life, maybe they will never see it, but much of their life will be wasted thinking solely on the worst case scenario. I don't know about you, that's not the life I want to live. That's not a life. Not in the least. Mary says, I'm the worst at this. I'm trying to be better, but gosh, I think it's my default. Look, don't beat yourself up, Mary. It's the default of most people. And the best thing you can do is just recognize that when situations come up and that thought comes in your mind, that thought is just a fleeting moment. That yes, it could possibly remotely happen, but the likelihood is small. So then let that make your mind go to all the other things that also could happen. I would say if your brain goes to worst case, immediately go to best case. And don't short shrift yourself on the best case. Sometimes when we think of the worst case scenario, we don't go to the equal and opposite best case scenario. We always kind of soften it. Well, we know the worst case is there, so the best case is only, and it's something well short of what the actual best case is. So just let your brain go there. And it will be somewhere along that spectrum. And the exciting thing about life is not knowing which part of the spectrum it will be on, but living your life confidently anyway. I know that's a new way to look at things, especially people that are generally pessimistic, generally have a negative worldview. We're going to try to change that for you, by the way, in 2022. If your mindset is generally thinking about the negative all the freaking time, I want to help with that. I don't think thinking positive all the time is good either. Brittany and I did an episode of the One Step Deeper podcast all about toxic positivity. So I don't think you need to be happy all the time and positive all the time, but you sure the hell don't need to be negative all the time. So finding that proper balance is essential. If you don't try things, then choose a worst case scenario of nothing happening. That's true. And then you say, see, nothing happens for me. Yeah, because you didn't do anything. Yeah, but I was worried about nothing happening for me. Well, your worrying about nothing happening for you resulted in, nothing happening for you. As I have said many times on these walk-in talks, you can become your own self-fulfilled prophecy of what you think if you allow yourself. Very easy to go down that road of just whatever it is that you believe, and then you reinforce it with your behavior towards that belief. Then when that belief of yourself comes out, you're like, see, that's who I am. That's what I am. No, that's what you did. Stop pretending like you didn't have a part in that. That the thoughts you thought and the beliefs you had didn't lead you to the very scenario that you thought was going to be inevitable, but it wasn't inevitable at all. You made it inevitable by your inaction. I see it time and time again, guys. Don't be your own worst enemy. This goes very well with the Black Plague. Yes, it might kill you. The chances are extremely small. Yeah, the survival rate for people under the age of 70 is still well into the 99.9 percentile. It's so minuscule at this point. Good morning. And so it is funny how many people are acting like it's been a 20% death rate. If it was a 20% death rate, I could understand all the weeping and gnashing of teeth. But it's not. It's not even 1% for the vast majority of people. So, we're over it. No matter what the overlords want us to believe, we're over it. Thank you for playing. Have a nice day. See ya. Driving a car can also end badly, but very unlikely. Yeah, you could be in an accident and get hurt. You could definitely die. Same with an airplane. Same with every part of life. The moment that you think you can take away all risk out of life is the moment you stop living life. Every part of your life has risk. Look, I'm out here walking on this trail next to a busy highway, a little busy little road here. What would stop someone from fiddling with their phone, looking down at their phone, or grabbing a cup of coffee and spilling it on themselves, and it makes them veer, and they veer over and they run me over and I die? What would stop that? Nothing. What's the likelihood of that? Not very high. But could it happen? Oh yeah, you bet. So, if things can happen, that doesn't mean they will happen. But convincing yourselves that the cans are woulds and wills, yeah, that's crazy. Don't do that to yourself. You'll never live life. Go live your life, guys. Mary says, I try to flip it to the blessings that could happen if the worst happens, particularly if I feel paralyzed in the worst outcomes. That's a good way to put it, Mary. Thank you for sharing that. Let's say the worst happens. I think even in the things that we think are bad, there are things that are bright sides of it. There are things that come out of it as a result of. I've got many scenarios in my own life when things didn't work out well. In the moment, the worst thing happened. But then what happened in the aftermath of that worst thing was, whoa, it pushed me in a direction that then turned into something that was really amazing. And that's the way you have to remember it. I remember right before I went full time doing Living La Vida Low Carb, I didn't even have a podcast yet. This was in 2006. I was working for a pretty major company here in Spartanburg. And as happened every 6 months, they had layoffs. And so I got caught up in the layoffs at this company, totally by surprise. Losing your job can be one of the worst things that happens. And so that happened. And so what did I do? I decided to go full time with all the work I was doing. Good morning, sir. And the first thing I did was start the Living La Vida Low Carb Show podcast. I don't think that turned out to be a bad thing. Would there have been no podcast from Gimme More had I not been laid off from my job, which at the time was the so-called worst case scenario? I don't know. Maybe I would have eventually gotten there. But the point is, because of that so-called worst case scenario, I went on to do something very good and very big. It turned out to be a wonderful thing. And it never would have happened had I wallowed in the pity of the worst case scenario unfolding. So good point, Mary. Thank you for that. You're more likely to regret not trying than you are to regret trying. Yes. If you try and fail, hey, they call it the old college try for a reason. But if you don't try, you're always going to wonder, what if? What could have been? A lot of people do that in relationships. They get older in life and they go back to some old crush and they say, you know, I had a crush on you in high school, for example. And then they go back and say, oh man, I would have definitely said yes if you asked me out. And people's minds go, wait, what? The worst thing that can be said is no, or not now, or whatever. That's the worst thing. Or things just fail. Okay. I would rather fail at something trying than to wonder if I would have succeeded or failed by not trying. Every day of the week. So you're so right. Mary says, I guess kind of roundabout what to find the positive in a potentially bad situation. It's definitely a trauma-based response. Oh yeah. When you weren't allowed to think anything but the worst case scenario. Good morning. Anything but the worst case scenario in your life. Because of trauma that's happened. So I get it. I get it a lot. Sometimes the worst outcomes lead to the greatest outcomes. They do. You just gotta be expectant of that. Which begs the question, if the worst outcomes can lead to good outcomes, best outcomes, why do we lament the worst case scenario? Maybe the worst case scenario could be the best thing that ever happened to you. You ever stop to think about that? Maybe that thing that you think is, oh my gosh, if this happens, my life is over. But then it happens and it shifts you in the direction of what you always wanted from the beginning. Isn't that funny how life works? And it works that way a lot more often than we want to give it credit for, you guys. So I love that. Thank you for sharing. Bad outcomes are often part of the journey to your goals. Yeah, I've said it many times. You have to fail a lot more times before you succeed. Fail, succeed. Guess what happens when you succeed? All those failures are forgotten. And in every one of those so-called failures, you learned something new to apply to what would eventually be your success. That happens too. Elizabeth says, I think keto would not have happened without you and your podcast. Thank you for that. I definitely tried to bring cutting edge information on my podcasts. And I do wonder sometimes how the keto, low carb world would have progressed without Jimmy Moore in it. It's just kind of a mental exercise. If I had not started my podcast or written like Keto Clarity, I think keto still would have came on the scene, but it would have been interesting to see who would have started the torch. I pushed the envelope earlier than everybody. I think it eventually would have got out there, but it sure was nice to be a part of it. So thank you for that. All right, guys, day 97 of my sabbatical to 50. Still rocking it on this 100-day journey. It ends on Thursday. Thursday is the very last day. And then I'll be here on Friday during my morning walk to recap how this was before I go off the line. Off the line. My Southern is coming out. I'm going off the line on Friday. After Friday, I declare. And be gone for 3 weeks until I come back January 1st, 2022. So go check out all the past videos, guys. Sabbatical250 is the hashtag. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You can also go to my website, livinlavitalowcarb.com/staybatical and get all of these videos there as well. So guys, go have a great Monday, and we'll see you again soon. Bye, guys.